Hi. At last I've finally been able to get round to the only debunk attempt of MAGE that I've come across. Ranty Flat Earth, Brandon Toy, and someone who can't tie their shoelaces called Jimbo. First of all, a big shout out to my patrons and the sponsors of MAGE. I want to give massive thanks to each and every one of my supporting patrons. Thank you. I'm proud that MAGE was sponsored by Bob the Science Guy and his channel Common Sense Science, by Arctic Haze and his Climate Anomaly website, and by Just Shoot Me, a Canberra-based rigging service. Thank you very much. So let's visit these three stooges as they attempt to debunk MAGE II. Of course, there's going to be some cherry picking. There's going to be some general stupidity and certainly a total lack of understanding of what's been presented to them. Take it away, Brandon Toy.
Yeah, so this is a still shot from a timestamp in that debate where they profess that this picture right here is proof of curvature.
Well, not really, Brandon. As soon as we get to height, all the imagery will demonstrate the curvature, but the actual image I presented as one that really showed the curvature of the Earth was this one. Then, having shown that gorgeous image, I overlaid a predicted graphic sent to me by an engineer from Chile, and it pretty much matched. Boom. Please note, it was taken from a horizon line that's across the centre of the screen, and not the bottom or the top third of the screen. More later.
It proves the plane is banking or the camera's on an angle. Doesn't prove curvature. The horizon's still perfectly flat.
And that village idiot was Jimbo. You did hear him right. He said it shows the plane was banking. Jimbo, it's a balloon, like the balloon you can see in the top left-hand corner. And Jimbo, please note, 1, that imagery is in the lower third of the screen where barrel distortion will tend to flatten any curve. And 2, that image is in the lower third of the screen where any barrel distortion will tend to flatten the curve. I realised that that's the same thing I said, but it's such a biggie, I thought it worth mentioning twice.
When you look at this, does it appear somewhat, I don't know, curved? Like this is closer to you, this is higher. Like it does have a bit of a curve to it, right?
Yes, indeed, there is curve, despite the fact it's in the lower third of the screen where barrel distortion acts against seeing the curve. The reason it's lower on the right than the left is that the MAGE payload happened to be tilted slightly at that point. That's all.
No, there's a horizontal indicator, a yellow one and a black one below, and it's horizontal with the actual horizontal line below it.
What are you talking about, horizontal indicator? Those two lines are just taut across the camera. They're not indicating if it's horizontal or not. They're indicating the lack of distortion.
In that later blue area. This is a trick photography. This is like trying to say, well, we have a photograph, kind of a bizarre one. It looks like the foreground is curved, but the actual horizon is back behind some clouds, farther away and still horizontal.
Do you not understand that the horizon will be the furthest point that you can see? So it's actually impossible for it to be closer to you in the image?
It's straight.
It's a trick. The black line is not straight.
Bullshit.
It looks like it's curving up to the left a little bit, like it's compressing to the right, curving up to the left.
Absolutely not straight. Of that I'm confident. It looks like it bows down and goes back up on the right side.
Now that's interesting. Remember that the line actually is straight because it's a piece of string held taut. It does look slightly bowed down in the middle and up at each side because of barrel distortion. And the further down in the imagery you'll get, the more pronounced that effect will be. So, if anything, a flat Earth should look bowed down in the middle and up at each side. But it doesn't.
As a lens artifact, but not the curvature of the land, more than likely.
Could be. So this is what they showed, and then they did a little trick here. Let me see where I'm at in this thing. And I'll try to pop to this little thing that they showed. And they said, hey, we confirmed that there's curvature in this picture. Guess how they did it?
They compressed it from the sides again, like the table.
Bing, bang, boom, proof of curvature, Earth's a ball, end of story.
Well, perhaps you can explain this. In the video, I took a random image, I then added a random number of straight lines, and finally I compressed it. The straight lines remained straight. They did not curve.
Does anybody else have an argument against this being curvature that they would have offered if faced with this
well, I'm
picture?
just going to reiterate what I said about it not being symmetrical. If you go to that first
Yeah, it's not symmetrical because the camera is tilted left to right.
vertical line on the left, it looks, is it different? Is it like a dark blue or a purple?
Yeah, it's like a purple bluish kind of thing.
So if you
It's slightly shorter.
I can't believe you're actually looking at the overlaid graphics and trying to use that as justification.
yeah, but if you just go straight up to what I'm assuming is their horizon, the grade of that line is more horizontal than it is anything else. But then at that point to the right, look at how severe the drop is.
Good grief. I know that most flat earthers can't 3D, but it appears you can't even 2D. Let me tilt the image a bit. Are you happier now?
Let me show you what I did, because I went back to the source material and I said, oh, okay, I wonder if they cherry picked that one image out of there.
Now that's a wise thing to do. Check that I was being honest. I hope that you're not going to do any cherry picking, are you? No, you're not, are you? Are you?
What do you guys think? You think they cherry picked it?
Oh, I'm pretty sure they cherry picked.
Oh, Brandon, you seem to have randomly chosen, without cherry picking, an image of the horizon in the bottom third of the screen where there's barrel distortion.
That's a good guess. So here is another still shot from the same video. And you can see that this one has quite a different tilt to it.
Yes, that tends to happen when something's dangling from a balloon. It swings about.
I added the white line in here. That's one thing you'll notice. So I just kind of put this where I thought the horizon is. That's another thing that I'll mention is you really can't tell where the horizon is.
Well, you can. That craft has a bar in front of the altitude meter. That's your artificial horizon.
You said what?
Craft has a bar in front of the altitude meter. That's your artificial horizon.
You bloody idiot. It's a string that is strung across the front of MAGE. It's not an artificial horizon. It'd be a damn sight cheaper for aircraft, wouldn't it? Instead of all that technical equipment, they could just tie a string across the windscreen. I think you've been eating red, yellow and blue crayons. Your problem is you're not getting enough greens.
Artificial though. This sways.
But it doesn't matter. It represents where the real horizon is.
Well, you chuff nugget, meet MAGE. If this string represents the real horizon, what happens when we go like that? You total knob socket.
Well, it doesn't look too curved to me. Does that look curved to you?
Nope.
Well, I'm sure that any further images you look at will be across the centre of the screen where we haven't got the distortion.
Here's another one. Here's another even better one.
You mean even lower, into a higher area of distortion?
This one's lower down in the camera's field of view, you'll notice.
Yes, I may have just noticed that.
This one almost looks a little concave.
Introduction to optics. This is barrel distortion. If you look at the horizontal line across the bottom, it's bowed downwards. It's concave. That's what barrel distortion does. Now look at the horizontal line across the middle and the vertical across the middle as well. They're dead straight, no distortion. That is where you should be taking measurements from when the horizon line is across the middle.
I think the graph in the bottom in the yellow shows the angle maybe of the craft or the nose.
Speak up. What did you say?
Shows the angle maybe of the craft or the nose.
Did IQs just drop sharply while I was away?
Do you mean these two graphs that were fully explained at the beginning of my video? You know, the one labelled with a C for centigrade and PA for pascals. I'm wondering, does your father use you as a waste paper basket?
At different times during its flight, and that red spot is at the beginning of an ascension, which means it's pointing upwards. which would skew or slant if the cameraman kept his camera, you know.
No, I don't know. I suggest you go back and watch the video and get a toddler to explain it to you.
You see those squiggly lines down below?
Yeah,
The yellow ones?
I see them.
With the red dot? I think that's representing where the photo was taken at the beginning of a climb or an ascent.
I think, Jimbo, with your level of understanding of this, you better play safe, and next time you have marshmallows, ask for someone to cut all the sharp corners off for you. We've heard enough of your rubbish. Let's move on.
Doesn't look curved to me, so I guess there's no curvature in these ones, according to their standards.
Well, there will be curve. You may need to process the photo to get rid of the barrel distortion first, but those weren't the photos that I used to even show the curvature.
Huh? Aaron, why don't you come on and dispute it if you've got a problem? Aaron Armstrong, I'd be happy to have you on. Or Mr. Sensible, he can stop by. Anybody can stop by.
Well, that's very nice of you, Brandon. Top tip for you. If you want to debate someone, you need to invite them before the fact.
Wasn't somebody complaining that we didn't talk about this yet? So now we're talking about it. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I don't even know why we need to talk to Mr. Sensible, to be honest with you.
So what, now you're suggesting debating something without the other party? The reason you need to talk to me is so that you know what the hell you're even talking about. Then you can try and debunk it.
Anyway, so here's another one. Same story. No curvature here either. I guess we found the flat.
Yet another random picture that happens to be from the bottom third of the screen. Come on, you accused me of cherry picking, you know.
Oh, I guess unless you look at this wide angle cam, but who would do that? Who would be silly enough to look at that wide angle cam and think that represented reality?
Someone hold Ranty's beer.
I don't know anybody who would do that. How about this one? I just cut out the middle part here for whatever reason.
But where the graphs show, it's still the bottom of the screen.
Looks like some flat to me. Looks like Mr. Sensible proved the flat earth.
I see.
Here I blew it up.
Curve in there.
I blew it up. Now, this is what I wanted to talk about, and you kind of hit on this, Jimbo.
Let's get this clear, what we're looking at. We have MAGE's narrow angle camera. You have taken an image of the horizon across the very bottom of it, where any barrel distortion is at its absolute worst. You've then blown it up and taken the bottom left corner. We can only see one graph. And you're going to look for curvature there.
Where's the horizon? Because I see it go from white to blue to darker blue to darker blue.
What, in a sort of, how could we put it? Gradient.
I see something back there. Is that land? What is that?
I think MAGE may have captured an image of your struggle with reality.
Because I think they were trying to say that was space. Like, this is all space. This is that glow that they like to put, you know, that Marvel Comics books Earth glow that they put on.
No, MAGE is not in space. It's only 38 kilometers up. However, the atmospheric pressure is down to about 250 pascals, about 0.2, 0.3% of atmospheric. So there's hardly any atmosphere above you. So there's no scattering of light. So the sky is no longer blue. All you can see is black.
Thanks, Mr. Sensible. I appreciate you providing us with this wonderful, wonderful flat earth evidence that you've provided us with.
Yes, I went to the time, trouble and effort of running the experiment, providing the evidence, and then you have totally failed to look at it. A little later, Rumpus joins in the stream and tries to hammer some sense into these idiots.
Of what his footage did demonstrate curve.
Well, these are screenshots from his, what he published.
Well,
And
I mean,
he
obviously, it's a
compressed
little
his
bit.
images from the side to prove the curve, which is just ridiculous.
Well, you can shut up, Mr. Artificial Horizon.
I didn't. Sorry, can you say that again? I missed that start of that
He
sentence.
compressed the image inward from the sides to the middle to get his curve.
Yeah, of course.
Reduced it by, yeah, of course.
Well, here's one for
Well,
you,
exactly the
Rumpus.
sense-
Yeah, of course.
Here's I did a compression
But
too.
don't you understand why that's valid? I mean, are you that stupid?
Yes, Rumpus, they are that stupid.
If that's valid, then Rumpus, then can you please take a look at the screen right here and tell me how this is not proof of flat Earth?
Right, so you've taken a shot where it's right at the bottom of the screen. That's what you've done, isn't it? Right. Okay,
Yeah.
that's why. Okay, that's why you've got the shot you have. You specifically cherry-picked.
Boom. You got it, Rumpus. They've done nothing but cherry-pick.
And you can see from the fact that grey line there shows that there is a bit of barrel distortion, and it's actually neutralizing the bend of the curve. And as you've got the shot from further down, so you've obviously cherry-picked a particular shot where the curve of the Earth is right at the bottom to make your point. And then you've obviously done that deliberately. You've obviously done that. Hold on. You've obviously done that deliberately, and you haven't taken a shot. You haven't taken a shot where the curve is in the middle.
Oh.
You can see from the grey line there that there is barrel distortion. And if you knew anything about optics, you would know that with a lens, it does suffer from barrel distortion. It increases towards the bottom, and so that will neutralize the curve. So well done for deliberately misrepresenting this video. Well done. That's dishonest, I'm afraid. I don't normally accuse people of being dishonest, but you've clearly done this deliberately, sampling a shot where the curve of the Earth is right at the bottom. So well done for being dishonest there.
Well, Rumpus, I respect your position there. I don't normally call people dishonest, but these guys are flat out liars.
Hey, Rumpus, Ranty shared a couple images. I'm sharing in Discord again. And this is from MAGE II as well, which is Mr. Sensible's balloon footage. Now, it is clipped a little bit, but I mean, you're seeing some really bad distortion in this one, up from the center down to the end.
What, you mean one of the cameras that was not used for the experiment? The one with the wide-angle lens that suffers from distortion, that is labelled wide cam? Do you mean that one?
Yeah. Well, what about this one? It's way above here.
Explain this at length. The fact that you didn't pick this up and you suddenly are offering me this image of the wide cam distorting, which we know has barrel distortion. I mean, he made the very same point at the start. He said, this is what happens when you see lots of people's images or video of going up in a balloon. And he showed at the start of his video, and he had it playing in the background, other people's wide angle views, which we know suffer from barrel distortion. And then what do? You say, oh, look, there's this wide angle thing that has barrel distortion.
And Rumpus is spot on correct. That is the view you get from nearly every high altitude balloon, because they want a wide field of view to appreciate what they're looking at. I wanted a narrow field of view with a non-distorting lens. You have entirely missed the point, or you're being disingenuous. I wonder which it could be, Mr. Cherry Picker.
I mean, as if you think you're making a point.
Well, that's not what the first ones were they? Those weren't barreled. Those weren't the wide angle lens. Those were the main lens. And those showed flat, so I think we can rely on those ones.
No, they showed curve. You just cherry picked two that had the curve of the Earth at the very bottom of the screen. And even in that one, we can see that it's curved.
Well, what did he do? I mean, he didn't cherry pick? I mean...
Cherry pick? Au contraire, pumpkin. I took an image that was as high up as I could get. It's in the top third, just in the top third of the screen, where there's barrel distortion, which would make it look more curved. I compressed it. You can see curvature, but I said in the video, we're not going to use that one for results testing. I also took an image in the bottom third of the screen, where it would be most beneficial towards the flat Earth case, because the barrel distortion, like you can see there at the bottom, would tend to make things bow down, so it would flatten out any curve. And despite that, when we compress the image left to right, we got curve. So because I'm not trying to cherry pick and just find evidence to suit my case, as you seem to be, I used neither the top nor the bottom images. I ruled out distortion and took this image that's in the middle, where there's no distortion, where you can see curve, and then I compressed it. What can you see, Mr. Brandon Toy?
Contrast. Could I ask a question?
Who is this? Is it the great prophet Zircon?
Hey, Rumpus.
Hey, Ranty. How are you, Ranty?
Oh, it's Ranty.
The higher up you went, you could see the curvature of the Earth, and you said it didn't matter which way the balloon was moving, the camera was moving, or anything like that. It was just showing this curvature of the Earth. And I said I would do a video to disprove that.
Finally, Ranty's going to give us a debunk that is worth me defending, instead of the drivel, the cherry picking from Brandon Toy, and the utter horse apples and total lack of understanding by Jimbo. Go on, Ranty, do your worst to me.
Okay, so I'm just going to upload a video now. If Brandon wants to play it, and then I'm going to step out and let you guys crack on with it. It's I've just posted it right now. It's just as the balloon pops. Basically, you see the original speed, then it slowed down 50%, then slowed down 33%, and you get around about a 3-second clip of each. So it's the same 3 seconds, just repeated over.
Okay, Ranty, I have girded my loins and I have full control of my sphincter. Hit us with it.
And what you're going to see here is the video of that wide camera. What happens when...
The wide camera.
You're right, Rumpus. Did he say wide camera?
But it didn't have barrel distortion when it was just getting up to a certain altitude, and it just seemed to show constant curve downwards, right?
Actually, Ranty, it did. When the camera was swinging around, the wide camera, you could see it bend and flex. The shot that you've got there is when things are relatively calm and the horizon is across the middle, where even on a wide camera, you're going to get a lot less distortion. But go on, make your point.
The wide...
Hold on. Again. For like 10 minutes, right? Okay.
Oh.
But as soon as the balloon popped, and then the camera started moving around, yeah, then you get to see a bit of difference, don't you?
Hold on, so you're going to use the wide angle camera with all its distortion and then take imagery where the horizon crosses the most distorted areas and then say it doesn't look curved? You complete hemorrhoid.
Anyway, I'm going to step out and I'm going to let you guys discuss this.
All right. Thanks, Ranty.
No idea what he meant then.
All right, I'm sharing it on my screen. Let's take a look at it. Let's see what he meant.
I think he meant, please call the authorities. I need to be sectioned.
I mean, the fact that he's picking on the wide cam just makes it irrelevant.
Well, are you going to pay attention? Yeah, you got to pay attention.
Right, did we just see, hold on. Could you just go back by a couple of frames?
Oh.
Right, stop. Right now, so we just saw there the shape of the Earth and the value of this camera, and there we have suddenly we have a convex Earth. I mean, so there's no point in analysing these images at all with this camera view. So I don't know what Ranty thinks he's doing.
Absolutely, and I did not analyse or use that wide-angle camera at all. The only time that wide-angle camera was used was to show the balloon throughout the whole flight and to show it popping.
Well, let's watch the whole thing, though. Let's see what happens.
So, I mean, there we got a convex, concave Earth flipping out. Who cares what it does? It's not giving us a objective view of what's going on. I mean, this is the whole point of why he had the least the minimal barrel distortion on the other lens. I mean, I don't know what Ranty thinks he's showing us here, except the fact that there's barrel distortion. I mean...
Rumpus, I think it's quite clear what Ranty is showing us. He's showing us that he's a knob socket of the highest order. But wait, he comes back to defend the use of this camera. Go ahead, Ranty.
He's using the same camera that I'm using.
Oh,
No.
He's using the same camera.
No.
No, it's
the same camera lens. It's the center one.
No, it isn't.
No, it's
the
not.
same one.
No, it really isn't.
It's not, Ranty, because
it's the same one.
It isn't the same camera.
It's the same one, you Burke.
It is not the same camera. So you think that they are the same camera, Ranty? One that says wide cam and the other that has all the altimeter and other telemetry readings, 2 graphs, inset camera views, a MAGE patch and a camera clock on it. Oh, and that's to say nothing of the 2 taut reference line strings. Ranty, I think that your evidence holds less weight than a very small dish of chicken giblets. So what are you going to do now?
Right, I'm going to leave you to it.
Here is a very quick tour of the camera positions of MAGE. Well, it's obvious that we're going to have to show you MAGE and the camera positions. This is the top of the camera. This is where the wide angle balloon cam pointed upwards. At the reverse of MAGE, we've got the position where the other wide angle camera was. That was just for the view. It was not used in any experiments, any measurements at all. And at the business end, we've got the reference line strings kept taut, and facing them is the position for the MAGE narrow angle camera. This is the only camera position which had the MAGE reference line strings in view the full time. It's the only camera position that was used to show the curve of the Earth. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that. Ranty, Brandon Toy, I will happily debate you on this. Try actually getting in contact with me and we can arrange it. But be prepared for some butt hurt. Jimbo, no excuse. When you're eating your crayons, don't leave your greens at the side of the plate. Until next time, stay sensible.
Shut up and sit down.